Okay. My name is Noemi Guevara, and it's my pleasure as your Director of Alumni Engagement to welcome you to this edition of our 49er Industry Chat. Before we start, I would like to let you know this session is being recorded and will live on our website on demand at csuob.edu/alumni. We also encourage you to use our Q&A box located below to submit any questions for our guest speaker today. And now I would like to introduce our moderator for the chat, Kim Armstrong. Kim is a triple alumna, earning her bachelor's and 2 master's degrees in 1988, 1991, and 1994. She currently serves as Vice President for the CSUOB Alumni Council. Kim, thank you for moderating the chat today, and it's my pleasure to pass it on to you.
Hey, thank you so much, Noemi. It's always an honor to be here. And when I saw this topic come up, I was like so excited. And I want to also welcome all of you that are out there. I know we have an international audience today. We have folks from all over the globe joining us. So it is an amazing topic. I'd love to introduce our speaker today. It is a real honor to introduce Diane Lee. She is a proud grad of Cal State Long Beach, holding a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism, specializing in public relations with a minor in business marketing. After her graduation from the beach, she made a career in Maui, Hawaii, where she played many roles in the hospitality industry, cable television, and freelance writing. In the consumer food product industry, Diane expanded the production and distribution of many local Hawaiian brands throughout the Pacific Rim and Western United States, achieving millions of dollars in annual sales for her clients. Today, she has a very, very cool job. She is a Master Training Facilitator for the Disneyland resorts. And when she's not training new trainers, new recruits, or tour guides, she serves as a VIP hostess for high-profile guests, dignitaries, and corporate partners. In 2011, Diane took her work into the LA Orange County community and became a certified trainer at the Protocol School of Washington, and most recently, the Association for Talent Development. She enjoys serving as a business etiquette consultant, trainer, and speaker under the banner of Street Smart Etiquette. So write that down, check it out. Thanks all for joining, and ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Diane Lee. Diane.
Hi, I'm so glad you joined us. Well, this is a great opportunity. I love being on campus, but this is the next best thing, definitely. So I'm going to buzz through what we could spend hours on, but I've blocked about 30 minutes here to introduce you to some best practices if you're entering the workplace, still in school, or you're already working and you want to up your game and get into that next new dream job, or just attract more business and do better business. This is what it's all about. My tagline for years is, it's not just good banners, it's good business. And it really, this topic, as you can see, it really speaks to me, and the business world and doing the deal. I loved doing the deal, and it was the quid pro quo, but you can get really good at it if you use these techniques and think very empathically. Because if you're comfortable and confident, people are going to be comfortable around you. Of course they'll want to give you that job. Of course they'll want to give you that business, trust you with their financial portfolio, buy that house. So it's doing better business. So shall we get started, Kim? Okay.
Yeah, jump in. I know you have some slides, and so you could work through your presentation, and then we'll take questions at the end. But if you have questions in between, please put them in the Q&A.
Yeah.
And thanks. I'm excited. I have my pen, paper. I'm ready.
Okay. How's that? Welcome, Outclassing the Competition, Doing Better Business. Let's get into it. So why bother? Like I said, you want to present yourself with confidence so you can focus on your message, project that polished and positive image So people will do business with you, give you that job, and really outshine the competition and distinguish yourself and be memorable. Be the best you can be in that interview, in that sales meeting, and succeed in the workplace as a solid team member that people want to do business with. They want you on your team. And a lot of times it's the hustle of project to project in a lot of workplaces now. So that's what this is all about. Now, it's funny, when this whole pandemic came about, remember this is 2.0, doing business in a pandemic. Some of my major tips involved the smile. That's your first impression right there. You only have one chance to make a first impression. So with these masks on, that's a killer right there. Practice the smile. Resting beast face is a whole thing I have an ebook on in my on my website. You can take a look at it, and someday we'll get back to making an impression with your face. But the reason that I looked at this, it's like, this is great, because if you picture Julia Roberts there on the left, she's smiling, it's great, but on the right, that is a Duchenne smile. That is actually a name, Duchenne smile, because her eyes are crinkled up. So when you have that mask on and your eyes are crinkling, it's an instant communication, a positive communication, a welcome. The eyes truly are the windows to the soul. And that Duchenne smile with the smiling eyes is truly powerful. So it's a tool that we can even power through with our masks on. And eye contact, you guys were getting really, really crummy at eye contact, because we have to, especially on the one-on-one. And I know for many, it's a source of anxiety. We are used to now developing and having that, we're used to developing our relationships on the screens, whether it's the phone, our iPads, and now. So, and I think the challenges this last year maybe will make this even more challenging when we do get back to the one-on-one. But again, masks have set us up for success, because on that professional encounter on the right, you want to be able to look at the eyes and then wander up to the forehead. And so it's good practice. So keep that in mind. You guys can tell when eye contact is uncomfortable or longing or not enough. I work with a lot of employers. A lot of my job at the community college level, I present this for job placement, and I've had a lot of feedback from the employers that participate in those job placement programs. And industry studies, they say that eye contact is probably their biggest pet peeve. 60% of people fail their job interview due to the lack of eye contact. So keep that in mind. If that makes you uncomfortable, practice it. Be conscious of it. All right, I love Don Draper instantly telling us about his body language. But this is how important body language can be. 7% is what we're saying. 38% of our communication is how we're saying it, but 55% of our communication comes through body language. So despite what you're saying, how you're saying it, how comfortable you are and confident you look is huge. Now, we can also take these tips to when we're presenting ourselves on a screen, but let's take a look first at the one-on-one. Now, we're not judging clothes here, even though the girl on the left does, she looks pretty well put together, right? The other one on the right, I assume she's an attorney, but let's take a look at their body language. The tips here on when you're presenting yourself. Now, when we get back to networking, or walking into that room, or presenting yourself in a meeting one-on-one, the key here, if you're looking at, is having your weight distributed evenly on both feet. You never want to pop one hip out to the other, or lean, or cross your arms. And you want to look solid. It's like a pillar. It's like a bank ad. It's symmetrical and solid. The girl on the right has her hands in front of her. That can be a barrier, and it can also tend to clench. People can tend to clench their hands together. Really, it's very hard at first, but you have to practice it, especially if you're networking, is having your hands at your side. It feels very vulnerable, but that's a great tip there. And of course, you have that smile. We could spend an hour on Dress for Success, but here's the go-to here in the modern day workplace. We are trending casual, yes? Thank you, IT. And especially when I worked almost 25 years in Maui, if you saw someone dressed on that far right professional part of the realm, they're going to court. They're probably an attorney. It's the only time anyone wore a tie. And that's really true now, universally. Business casual right there in the middle is probably what you see a lot of. The message here is, if you're ever in question on how to dress and going to an occasion, when we can go to them again, you dress more formally. You will never be dinged or looked down upon for dressing more formal than the rest. But dressing more casually than you should will kill you. It will kill the deal. It will kill your chances. So always dress up until you are invited to the game. Once you're invited to the club, then you can wear the jeans. If you know they wear the jeans there every day, and it's gone beyond, way beyond, even at Disney. If you don't have a client-facing or a guest-facing meeting that day, you can wear jeans any day of the week, not just casual Friday anymore. But you have to be invited. Ask that question: what's an appropriate look? And look around when you get there. But be invited to the team before you dress down. Okay, so this is part of the body language of looking confident. If you know that you have these tics, if you are a hair twirler or you play with your watch, anything that's distracting, you're distracting from your message. And it really is distracting and not, again, a deal killer. Why someone would do business with you, give you that job, and get you really off message, takes away from what you're trying to communicate. So this is true through video chat. And again, the posture, even if you're on camera, don't lean back, lean forward. In interviews, if you're in the one-on-one, leaning forward in a conversation expresses interest, and it makes the other person intuitively feel good and validated. So leaning forward, even if it's into the video camera, getting rid of those tics and distractions. Now the phone can be a huge distraction. And if you are addicted to that phone, I would challenge you to have it in the other room. When we can do this again, I always say, if you're going to do a 45-minute interview and you need to be focused on what your message is going to be, I dare you to leave your phone in the car, because you don't need it. It's just going to be a distraction and a tic that you're going to be going towards. So that's that. Leading to us, the art of conversation. Now, it is an art, and it is something that needs to be worked at. We're getting very crummy at it with our texting. And the very thought of it for many people these days can cause a lot of anxiety. So here's some tips to champion your message. I have this slide because it just sings to me, it makes me peaceful, but it's also be in your clarity about what you want out of that encounter that you're preparing for, whether it's via video or whether it's the one-on-one. If you're going to, this is truly helpful for a networking event. And I did a lot of mentoring on campus when we were open. Be in clarity about what you need. What is your next step? What is your next need to move you forward to that ultimate goal? Again, be in clarity of what your goal is. Do you want that sale? Do you want to garner this client? Do you want to get a job? Do you want to make a networking connection to get into the workplace? Be in your clarity. And that's not, in mentoring, I get a lot of, oh, I need a job. I'm looking for a job. What's your major? I'm an engineering major. I'll take what kind of a job you want? Well, any job. I'll take a job in engineering. Well, are you a mechanical engineer? Are you an aerospace engineer? Are you an electrical engineer? Go be bold and saying, hey, I'm an engineering major, and I'd really like to get a better idea of what it would be like to work for a big government company, maybe like for a bigger company like Boeing. And then if I'm on the other end, I can say, oh, I have someone who works at HR at Boeing. You're helping people help you. And if you're going in and trying to make that deal or sign a client or get on the team, just be in your clarity on what they could get out of the deal, the quid pro quo, the win-win. So be in your clarity. What is there to talk about? That's the funny thing, because it's very rude when you're meeting up, whether virtually or in person, to launch right into like, well, here's what I'm looking for. You always have that 5 minutes of small talk. And again, I run into a lot of individuals who just are kind of clueless in the world. So be aware of what's going on beyond the politics, I know. But again, in sports, know a little bit about everything and be aware of what's going on. Get out of your news feed once in a while and click on other things to be an interesting person. If you don't like Marvel, well, maybe you need to know what's happening in the Marvel universe. You know, just know some highlights and actually do some homework about the other person. Go on their website. Go on the company's website if you want to work for that company. Google them, find out what their interests are, and then I hear a lot of feedback from employers saying they didn't even ask me one thing about my company. They didn't know anything about my company. Know what their their bottom line is. Know what it's like. Oh yeah, I see that you're expanding into Malaysia. Is that why you're doing hiring? And showing interest. Wow, I really love the work that your company does with Children's Hospital. That really sings to my values. Have a clue what's going on the other side of the camera, on the other side of the desk. Okay, I debated about keeping this one in or out for the time, but it seems important to everybody. I forgot their name. Keep calm. Everybody deals with this. I don't care which your pecking order is in the hierarchy. This is a challenge for everybody. Stay calm. Understand that everybody's in the same boat, and the other person you'll be surprised how empathetic the other person is. These are some tips. Say their name during the interaction. How to spell it. Is that Sarah with an H? Oh, yes, it is. Thank you so much. Philip with one L or two? Two. Thank you for asking. Now write it down. Now that we're in virtual meetings, write down everybody's name. I even do that if I'm at a conference table. I'll have a pen and notepad and write down people's names. That's a great one. Create an instant tie-in. Paul. Oh, hi Paul. That's my dad's name. Great. And then this is a gem. I use it all the time in my work. And believe me, I meet a lot of people every day. Remind me of your name. And that one, you have a pass in about 15 minutes. And if you don't say it, I mean, even after 15 minutes, it gets a little, in that first interaction. But if you see someone again and like, hi, Diane, or hi, Joe. Hi, oh, I know the face. Remind me of your name. It's gold, guys. Nobody's offended when you say that. Okay, now as you can see, we're kind of getting our foot in the door, making our first impression, presenting ourselves with strength and confidence. All right, so we've got an in. We're starting to play with the team. I put that one over there with the food. And even down there in the lower left, as you can see, she's doing her job, but she's got that phone out. This is another a red light that employers don't want to see the phone out. Earbuds are totally rude in the workplace, and they're a safety concern as well. So keep the phone away because it really sends a message whether you're doing your job or if you're looking at your phone. Now, the use of communication is evolving quickly in the workplace. So I'm going to go through a best tip scenarios here. Do you even like being on the phone? Everyone, I hear the feedback, they hate being on the phone. But here is another thing from HR professionals. I go to the HR Association professionals meetings. Some of them have revealed to me that this is often, when you're looking for a job, this is the first test. They won't text you, they won't email you, they will call you. You don't have voicemail set up? Goodbye. They won't call you back. Set up your voicemail, listen to that call before you return it, speak slowly and clearly. They are seeing what essence you have over the phone. So often smile and that will be conveyed. If you're nervous on the phone, work on that. Email effectiveness. Okay, I could go on and on about this. The bottom line here is, and I see it abused every day. Email is definitely, it started out as a letter, an electronic letter, a mailed letter. It has a salutation, it has an ending. These are some great points if you want to read through them and jot them down. Here's the problem. When it devolves to text messaging via email, pick up the phone and talk to them. That's why we're getting 200 emails a day. And that's a problem. I can't fix it. As you can tell, it's my pet peeve, but that's why we get slogged with emails when we should be picking up the phone or video chat. But if it's devolved to a text message, I never ever use by the way, or OMGs or emojis. Those evolved, the emojis evolved because we have a problem, we have a hard time emoting or relating our emotion in a text, but that's where they belong, in texts. That's where they are. Okay, texting your team members. This is another pet peeve of a lot of people. Just tell them not to text me at 11 o'clock at night. Texting is a very intimate way of communication. Have that conversation. If you are entering that team, hey, is it okay if you have to ask, before you text someone, you have to have their permission to text them, okay? Hey, is it okay now that we're gonna be working on this project, is it okay if I text you? Can I text you after hours? Is that okay? Have that conversation. Otherwise, you will be deemed very rude. And lastly, but not least, is avoid the workplace drama. Take that high road. It's very easy to slip into salacious gossip and hearsay. This is my golden rule. If you are not willing to say it in front of that person, don't say it at all. Sometimes I slip and you get into those fun conversations and I question myself, oh, would I say that in front of that person? And I felt kind of uncomfortable. And I called myself on it. I'm like, no, I probably shouldn't have done that. But you will be, again, a team member that people will love. So believe you can, and you're halfway there. Go out and make someone smile with their eyes and be awesome. So did I make it into the 30 minutes?
You did, and that was really, really, really interesting. Yeah, I think, was it Tyra Banks that says to smize? So trying to figure out how to do the smize.
Should I steal that? Maybe I'll steal that.
Yeah, that's her big thing, smize.
Okay, thank you.
So Diane, we have so many questions. I'd love to jump in and start kind of back at the very beginning, because I think there's a lot of curiosity about how did you get into this field?
Oh, okay. Well, briefly, my story is, remember 2008? We thought it got really bad in 2008. It got bad for me in 2008. I lost my job as a female marketing executive, and middle-aged female marketing executives. And I had to start over. No one was hiring middle-aged female marketing executives. So I needed a job. So I knocked on Disneyland's door because I wanted a stable company, which was very important at that time. And they said, we aren't hiring right now. We're actually cutting 90 salary positions a quarter. So just come as an hourly, get in. And so I got a job at Disneyland. And I thought I'd be scooping ice cream, but I instantly got hired into guest relations. I had no idea what that was. And I instantly got the job, and I'm like, wait, it sounds like I got the job. And they're like, I go, that was an easy interview. And they're like, what was that? How did that happen? And they're like, it was your smile and your handshake.
Wow.
So I quickly made my way into guest relations, and you start doing guest service and problem solving for people and sharing information. And I quickly became a tour guide, and I was good at it. And I started training tour guides, and I saw how nervous that this age group could be, the young adults on these one-on-ones. The phone, sorry to say, is really dumbing down and dulling those skills. So to be able, I instantly started having to empower people on the eye contact, the body language. And there was a lady who would come in and consult with us, and she said that she went to the protocol school. I go, how did you get to do what you do? Protocol School of Washington. So I went ahead and got into it. And then being the entrepreneur that I am and how much fun I enjoy this, that's how I got into this.
Wow, that is so interesting. That's very interesting. So a couple other things that are coming in. So now I'm going to move to more about some of the presentation. And so let's see, here's one about how do you balance? So back on dress, how do you balance looking presentable and still look genuine? And
Yeah.
can someone ever come off looking fake or staged?
Yeah. I get that a lot with like, hey, I want to show my personality. That's the way I stand out. But to tell you the truth, you got to play it safe at first. And again, people don't want to be distracted. So, you know, if you're the sock guy and you've got the socks, or, you know, that's your statement, just play it down at first and then slowly work your way into it. It sounds sad, but you just really want to play it safe at first. But you got to show that you've made an effort. And the key there too is your clothes have to make you feel fabulous. I say if you have to fight to wear it and it's a distraction to you, then don't wear it. If it doesn't make you feel fabulous, it shouldn't be in your closet. If you have to hold yourself up, or if you can't, you're afraid to bend over, or you know, you're afraid you're pulling at the buttons, that's a total distraction, and you shouldn't have to fight to wear your clothes. Feel comfortable in them, and feel fabulous in them.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a whole thing we could do just on clothes, because I know in some previous things, there's things about your colors and the power colors, and
Yeah.
go get someone to help figure out what are your right colors, go see a stylist. I think those things could be the things, yeah, where you're talking about that it just may not be you, and you just may not feel yourself.
Yeah, I hope that answered the question.
No, I think it covered it. So I'm going to move, see, I'm looking here just to see, okay, couple now things I'm going to move to a little bit about technology and etiquette. So there's a couple questions. One is, I'm going to start with this one. Do you have a preference for a video chat versus a phone call, or are they both equally acceptable?
It depends on what you want to get done, what your goal is for that meeting. And you certainly want to ask the other person if they have a preference.
Mm-hmm.
I have a meeting this afternoon and phone is just fine. But don't be afraid to have that conversation. If you're trying to make an impression or you really want to connect, yeah, video chat's fine. Be aware of the other person if that makes them nervous or if they're not comfortable with that technology. That's totally a conversation with the person you're trying to do business with.
That's a great way to think about it. Yeah. And then what etiquette tips do you have for interacting via Zoom? What are some do's and don'ts?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I would again practice. You download the Zoom, you can launch a new meeting and not connect with anybody, and get used to seeing yourself up there. I know it's like etiquette. I mean, etiquette is making the other person feel comfortable. That's what etiquette means. That's where it came from. If everyone is comfortable, then they can enjoy themselves. So the first key to making the other person feel comfortable is being comfortable yourself, being comfortable and confident. And that is the best thing you can do to convey it. To convey that, the other person is going to feel comfortable, and you've achieved it. So if you're comfortable with Zoom, log on and get comfortable with your image. I couldn't do a virtual background. I wanted to do it this time, but my platform doesn't support it. My laptop doesn't. Be aware of what you're presenting behind you. There's no distractions. And to tell you the truth, after this pandemic, you guys, national television, kids running through the screen, dogs barking, we've seen it all. So everyone is forgiving. But again, But again, and if something happens, just own it. And then own it and then let it go. Don't say, oh, that was horrible. Oh my God, I'm going to lose a job. Oh, they hate me. Ugh. Everyone is forgiving, and think more positively that the other person, is not as judgmental. And that's especially true in these times. It's not so much an etiquette tip, but I don't know if you've noticed, but I talk into the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't talk to you down here, Kim. I'm talking to the camera. If you want to make an impression, look them in the eye. Right now, that eye is the camera. Mm-hmm. And I'm frontlit. I'm not backlit. I'm not sidelit. I have my light on the front of my face. I want to make sure that anything behind me is not distracting to my message.
Well, I failed Zoom today.
Why?
I'm distracted behind me.
Oh, there's nothing distracting.
Well, no, I had placed my small book of etiquette behind me. Thank you for that, though. I've been writing some tips down. A few other questions. We have a lot of them in the chat, so I'm going through them. So here's a question about speaking with your manager. How do you answer your manager when they ask, what are your goals in 2021, when you know deep down you're just looking for a new job?
Yeah. Yep. I get that a lot. And in 2008, it was the same thing. I did a lot of women's empowerment and women networking, and we were desperate. I've been there, you guys. And they're like, and more than one woman I remember was like, I just need a job, any job. And that's what that kept that slide in there. Really, I can't tell you what to say, but you have to be in your clarity. You have to visualize yourself. Do you feel comfortable working from home? Do you really value interaction with a team once a week, or if at all? Do you love working with people on a frontline position, at AKA Disneyland, or something where you have to be in person? We're going to get through this, and we're going to come out the other side. Visualize if you want to work in a smaller setting, if you want to work in childcare. I do Zooms now with a gal on campus at the beach, and she does health management. I challenge them to, and they know they want to go into the healthcare industry. I challenge them to visualize, do they want to work in a small clinic setting? Do they want to work in a big research hospital? Do they want to work, what kind of size of team you want? What mix do you want of now virtual versus in person? So you got into a certain field, hopefully it makes you happy and it fuels your passion. Visualize different places. And here's the other thing is the informational interview. People, it's a thing. So if they're not posting maybe you don't even go for the job posting. If you want to work at it, like, oh my gosh, like I remember coming up through journalism, the biggest firm in Hollywood was Rogers & Cowan. They were the place to go to for entertainment industry, public relations. I have no idea what it'd be like to work there. But if I were that person now, I'd go call HR and say, hey, I'm really interested in this field. Is there an executive or person at your company that has 30 minutes for me for an informational interview, just to see what it would be like to work there? Informational interview. And you believe me, there's a lot of executives that will give you 30 minutes. And if it's 30 minutes, and you come prepared and you don't wear jeans.
Exactly. Awesome. That was great. Do you have any advice to recent grads who hope to start their own business or consulting firm?
Yes. A lot of, what the best thing is, they say find your niche. You have to look at the competitive landscape. Who is out there and who is doing what? How much are they charging? If you want to do business, I guess I'm trying to think of a genre. Well, first of all, if you want to be your own consultant, I was a marketing minor. The only reason I wasn't a marketing major is because I couldn't hack the accounting classes. But now with these online resources and virtual classes, so if you don't know how to run a business, you have no business being a business. So the minute I started climbing the corporate ladder and I became a vice president general manager, I took financial management for non-financial managers, which was a postgraduate course at the University of Hawaii. Best move I ever did. So proactively, if I'm pointing to you, if you don't know how to balance books, look at cash flow, know how much you need to be charging. Number one, get a monthly budget for what it takes to maintain your current lifestyle. And then you know where you want to go. It's like, well, I could live on this, but I could get ahead on this. So just have a good idea on what you need to live, what you need to get ahead, and then the competitive landscape. Who's out there doing much, and how can you differentiate yourself from them? What is going to be your competitive niche of why people should do business with you and not them? Know who you want to do business with. I could have taught kids how to drink their tea and eat their crumpets on their knee in etiquette, but no, I wanted to target young adults and people who want to advance their careers in business etiquette. It's a very fine niche, but I knew what I wanted to do and what made me happy. And I went and was very defined in my audience. The other thing in business is when you know where you want to go, other people are going to come and say, well, why don't you do this? Or why don't you do this? And if it gets you off course, it's going to take you longer to get to your goal. Maybe it might be a good idea, but maybe that's not, it's course deviating for you, and it might not be the best deal or the best opportunity for you.
Great, thank you. Yes, okay, more questions. So one of our participants asked, I need my phone for accommodation reasons. How do I navigate that professionally?
Have the conversation. I hear a lot. It's like, hey, I'm not putting away my phone. If my caregiver calls, I need to know that. I've trained people at Disneyland, and they're like, it's totally distracted. And I was just like, is everything okay? You know, because every time you're looking at your pocket and you're fidgeting, and it's like, oh, I have an ill child at home. Well, don't tell me that. And then we could have we can take a break every hour, at the top of every hour, every half hour, we can take a break and you can go and call. You know, just have that conversation. It's like, hey, I'm going to be monitoring my phone because of such and such. It's just something that has to happen. And it won't be hopefully it won't be a distraction for you, but just have that conversation.
That's great. So back to Zoom. Any advice on Zoom backgrounds during an interview with a high-level exec? Should we just have a blank wall in the background or blur the background?
I have heard so much on this. I have, somebody says never, and I take note of what people have in their background when they're presenting. Sometimes even on national news, I'm like, really? I would never show that on national news. So again, what you're comfortable with, I'd say the lack of clutter is probably best, and anything that's distracting. I have heard that having something personal is a warm and fuzzy. So my macrame over here, there it is. My macrame, which was my COVID creativeness. I have 4 of them hanging up, and everyone's getting macrame for Christmas. So a personal touch, they say is good, like the plant, the heirloom, but I've seen a lot of bookshelves professionally, but feedback from some people say it's like, that's a little too distracting. People are going to start reading the titles on your books, and then the lighting. But blurred, it's again, I'd say if I was an employer, and I wanted to get to know you, I would appreciate having a real experience as opposed to a blurred one or a virtual one. Because then I'd be going, oh, what are they hiding? But if you're willing to show a nice, a tasteful thing, a lamp, and I see a lot of lamps and couches. And if you can see a window, you have to cover up the window, never an open window. That's another thing too. So
great. Switching gears a little bit to the workplace. Someone asked, what recommendations do you have on how not to get involved with workplace gossip?
Yeah. Sorry, folks, not going to go there. I say it all the time. Well, that's a little bit too personal for me. TMI. You got to take the high road. Just, you know, again, the reoccurring theme, be upfront, be yourself, call it what it is, and you can't go wrong. Own it. If you make a mistake, own it. You know, somebody, you know, one time, and I'm mortified. One time I called a little kid a princess, and he goes like, I'm a boy. And I'm like, a boy with beautiful long hair. I'm so sorry. Actually, too, it deviates a little bit from the gossip thing, but I prefer to say my apologies as opposed to I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And which segues into another little nugget, which helps people a lot. And I hear it from a lot of people that are in higher placement than me, self-depreciating prattle. People tend to get nervous, like, oh, I know, I looked horrible, sorry, I didn't get up this morning. And it's like, oh, I haven't had my coffee. Don't do that. Don't ever self-depreciate yourself or put yourself down. I guess it ties into the gossip thing, but always take the high road and say, like, hey, I'm not going to go there with that conversation. That's too toxic for me. And I always think better of the other person too. And I find that if someone's irritating me at the end of my day, I will go to a responsible leader and say, hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time? And I did this just day before yesterday. It was my last work week at Disneyland. And I really had an irritating thing that just kind of built up, and a few things happened that day. I'm like, can I just vent for you for 10 minutes and so you can reset my expectations? Because I really feel this and this happened today. And after 10 minutes, I left him like, thank you so much. This is gone, and I won't carry it with me during my time away from Disney for the next 3 days.
Great. All right, we have a few more.
Okay.
This is about taking notes. So taking notes during a meeting with a high profile client, is it best to ask permission first, or because it can be helpful for the next steps, or is it distracting?
Have the conversation. Hey, do you mind if I take a few notes here? I know there's going to be a lot of information, and I really don't want to, I just want to take it all in. So I'll be taking a few notes, if that's okay. And never put anything on their desk. Never put your phone on their desk. Never lean over and put anything on their territory. Everything is in your lap.
That's really solid. Really solid advice. So here's another question. My smile is kind of crooked if I smile with teeth, and I've had a jaw appliance work and spoke to a surgeon. Should I smile anyway, even though it looks a little weird? Also, I don't always want to smile if I'm nervous, you know, because then sometimes you can feel like you look weird when you smile when you're nervous. How might I work around that?
I love that because it is very important. Again, you have to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable, the other person won't be comfortable. So get comfortable with whatever you choose. And it sounds really weird, but you have to practice your smile. It's a default face, and you carry it with you wherever you go. And I've practiced mine. And I walk this way through Disneyland. I walk this way through a parking lot. If I get that default face on, and you never know who you're going to be passing. If you're passing someone in the parking lot, you have to leave everything in the car and get that together before you make your entrance, because that may be the person that's going to be interviewing you. They may be watching you from the window coming in. You may pass them in the hall. And if you make that instant, it's instant, that impression. And a bad handshake or a bad first impression takes hours to undo. So practice that smile, get comfortable with it. Go easy on yourself. It may be goofy to you, but you know, Julia Roberts, remember the girl in my slide with the 2 smiles? I heard in an interview that she is so embarrassed. When she started in the industry, she thought her smile looked like a garage door. It was so big. She called it that. She hated it, but it was her calling card. So don't judge yourself, practice it, and be comfortable with whatever you choose.
Awesome.
And genuine with your eyes. Are we at the top of time?
We got a couple more, so we're gonna get through the last 3 questions that we have. How's that?
Okay.
So the next question is, and this is a really good one, because I hear this one a lot too. What's the proper post-interview follow-up? Is an email okay, a note, or a phone call? What do you suggest?
Oh, gosh, I haven't heard anyone even offer up a phone call. That's so old school. Usually an email is probably best in all industries, not a text. Again, don't text until you have permission to text that person. So, of course, a short thank you. I learned a lot. I look forward to hearing from you. Type email. Again, a salutation. Emails, you can look up how to craft a great email. You get up front, get to the point, and get off. Because we have too many emails. And again, the subject has to be very thoughtful. Thank you for your time is, just something very short and sweet. But I would prefer an email, definitely. And you have to have a follow-up. If that person gave you the time, it's like, I really appreciate the time that was afforded me, blah, blah, blah.
Wonderful. All right, back to Zoom, a couple more pictures on Zoom. If a coworker is uncomfortable in Zoom, is there anything that I could do to help them to be comfortable?
You want to practice with me? Let's practice. It's like, really, I know you can do this. Let's practice. I know. And just offer to practice with them. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. I actually did that. My friend said she wanted to do a Zoom meeting because she wanted to testify at a city council meeting. And she's like, oh my gosh, I've never done that. And I brought my laptop and on her porch, we practiced Zooming together. And you guys let me share my slides before today's meeting so I could be more comfortable sharing my slides.
That's right.
Yeah, practice.
Sticking with Zoom, or there could be WebEx or other platforms.
Yes.
I'm more comfortable with a profile picture. Is that okay? Is that less distracting, or you think
a profile like talking like this?
Video.
Like talking like this, having people see me like this? Is that what you
I think a profile picture like Ricky has one.
Oh, yeah.
Folks calling in today have theirs.
Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you. I get it. Definitely, that's a good default. But again, if you're trying to make an impression or get a job or land a deal, you have to have that conversation. It's like, normally I use a profile picture when I'm in these types of situations. Is that okay with you? Ask, have the conversation, be upfront.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, okay, couple more. We're in the home stretch. These are good questions.
Good.
You started to lean into this before, but what are some tips you might have for correcting a bad first impression? Do you address it head on, or do you just adjust moving forward?
I always find it very refreshing if you address it right on and just say, boy, the last time we met, I was really having an off day. I know it's really hard to make a second first impression. Just something like just owning it is so refreshing. If you have the opportunity to do that, I can't think of, like, if you interviewed and you didn't get it, you know, if you write saying, thank you for the opportunity. If I didn't make a great first impression, I would love a second chance to make a first impression if that is ever possible. Thank you very much. You know, I hope that doesn't sound flippant, but it's pretty straightforward, and it's professional. But then maybe you didn't, you know, you never know. Don't assume you made a bad impression.
Right. That's good. That's good. Okay. Very last question. I just want to circle back real quick on the, you know, contacting after. What do you think about handwritten notes? Do you think those are still okay or
yeah.
no?
Yeah, definitely. A handcrafted note. We'll talk about outclassing the competition. Yes, I have been given those more than once. I find them precious, and they're stacked in a box, and I reread them, and they bring me great joy. Make sure that you practice writing it before you write it on the card, and think it out. Practice writing it. If you have a 3x5 inch space, practice writing it in a 3x5 inch space to make sure that it is what you want to say and that it is well crafted.
And then it's spelled correctly.
Yeah, I know there's no autocorrect. Yeah, a lot of people type it out first and get all the autocorrects. Yeah, definitely.
Well, we've reached the end of all our questions. I just want to say yet another amazing industry chat. Diane Lee, thank you so much
Thank you.
for joining us today. I learned a lot. I think it's an amazing topic. And thank you.
There's so much more. Gosh, we can do it again.
Awesome. All right, I'll turn it back to Noemi. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Kim. Diane, if people want to connect with you, could they befriend you on LinkedIn? Would that be a good?
Yes, definitely. I also have a website that has an email link as well, Diane@streetsmartetiquette.com. I also have a virtual course on Udemy too, if you want to check that out.
Wonderful. So we encourage everyone to follow Diane on LinkedIn if you want to connect. And thank you everyone for joining us. We all learned so much and walked away with so much things to think about for the future. So thank you for joining us. And just a reminder to follow us on social media to learn about future chats like this. And we thank you for your time.
Thanks. Good to see you again, everybody on campus and off campus. Miss you guys.
Give us 1 second while we close out the call.